Welcome to Dr. Joy's vlog. Today we will be learning how to review a literature. But what exactly is a literature review? According to Helen Mongan-Rallis, a literature review is not just a mere summary of the literatures that you have read. It actually includes a critical analysis of relationship among the different works and relating these researches to your work. So on my part, when reviewing my literature, I usually work first with this: the what, who, and why. First, you might want to consider what is the crop that are of interest. What are its characteristics? What is its classifications? What are the potentials? Then second, you would want to consider the who. Who are the people or scientists who have worked on this? And what are their findings? So that when you could relate these works, and perhaps you could consider and find out gaps in the works of these different people. And then finally, the why. Why would you consider his or her work? Why will you do this proposal? And why would you want to work on this? Is there any significance to your community? And the likes. So that's for my first tip. The second one is that make sure that the journals that you have read are credible, or perhaps they have to be registered. You could also consider vlogs, but make sure that those people are credible, or you might want to verify those blogs to scientific journals also. And third, for the last, it is unethical not to give credit to the scientists or people who have extended or exerted so much effort on those researches. So please do not forget to cite them properly into your references.
So the first tip I'm going to share is about begin with what you have. If you have a good book, if you have a good online article, there are list of reference. There's a list of reference at the end of this article, so you could start from there, and you could contact the authors of these references. You might be surprised that they do respond. They're very generous of their time and their resources. The second one is befriend the librarian. I'm just saying you have to be kind to to the to these gatekeepers, because my mom is a librarian, but it is because they are the gatekeepers. They help you access materials of the library of the university, whether these are online and offline resources. So if you could just go to a physical library, for example, if you have one good book, across the bookshelf, below it and above it, these are related materials. So you could start from there. The third one is whether you are a digital migrant or a digital native. We are all users of computers and internet. So we have to beef up our search skills. We have to thank our mathematicians, because there is a term called Boolean logic, or we are going to use the Boolean operators in our digital search. So there are only three words: and, or, and not. So whenever you're going to make keyword search, you have to refine digital literature search through using this one. Say, for example, and connotes that you're going to include property A and property B, or characteristics of A and B, while or is only for you are only considering one parameter, while not is that you are not going to include the other one. Say for example, if you are going to your research is about cereals, so there are many cereals all across the world. So say for example, it will be acid tolerant and drought tolerant, for example. So if you are going to if you're interested in those two characteristics, so acid and drought tolerant, so you use the word and. But if you're only after of acid tolerant varieties, so you could only uh, place their acid, not drought tolerant, for example, and either of the two you could use or. So those are Boolean operators which will refine your keyword search. Aside from those Boolean operators, you could also use quotation marks uh, before and after your keyword, and then you could also use the keyword and then add the wildcard. You use the asterisk.
A little background, because I'm a researcher, I also write, you know, research articles. So the first experience that I have with the RRL is, of course, doing my master's and PhD, where my advisor, instead of looking at the content of my proposal or my paper, they go directly to the literature cited and they count. So if it's like, this is just 20, I can go back. And when I also publish my paper, I also have the experience of comments from the editor to enhance your literatures. So I'll just give you some tips. I hope that this will work out for you. So the first one, before you really do your RRL, is you have to deeply understand. Meaning deeply, really from all sides of the equation and all sides of your research, you understand what your research problem is all about. Because when you understand your research problem, at least it will also refine, give you focus on what to search for the articles for your review of related literature. Secondly, when you do your review, reading your articles, you have to focus on the methodology and the findings. So for example, for the methodology, what are the tools, the methods, the procedures, the protocols that this study that you're reading is or used for his or her research. And then you also have to look at the findings. Using this methodology, what were the findings? So if you are writing the RRL in the proposal stage, the methodology will tell you or will give you some ideas on how to refine your methodology. So when you read the previous article or the reviewed article, say they have limitations in the methodology that they used, in your research you can hopefully refine your methods based on what previous researchers have experienced. And when you look at the findings, again we're talking about RRL in the proposal stage. When you look at the findings, this will give you an idea of what are the gaps of the previous study that your research will hope to address or respond. So if in a study they lack this data or they lack this protocol, then your study is going to address that. And that will make your study, your research, very significant for science. Okay, third tip. Sometimes it's difficult for us to look at or search for articles. What specific articles am I looking at in my RRL? So you could also look at the literature cited of your reviewed study. For example, there's an existing publication, and then you look at their literature cited. When you look at their literature cited, there's a list of the different articles. From that list, you can pick up some articles that relate to your study. So you can check all of this article. And when you do, you can use third tip. You can use a snowball method. Okay, so when you have this list of literatures that is reviewed by a certain article, and then you can check and find this out again in other search engines. So that will enhance your review of lit. And then number 4, with this digital age, it is very easy and accessible, access-wise for you to do some research on your RRL. Unlike in our age,
You have to go to the library, we photocopy, really read, and you cannot just copy paste. So what I'm saying is that search all the search engines available, whether it's an online library, whether it's like a Google Scholar. There are many sources of information. You can even check out yung syllabi or syllabus of courses. The syllabus of courses of other schools, they also include the list of the references that you can use for them. Okay, or sometimes if really that article is really important for your research, you can email the author. And then tell them or her or him that you're a student and of course cannot afford to buy it, and they're willing to share, especially for enhancing your study. And the fifth tip that I like to share is from 1 to 4. When you start reading and reading and reading, tip number 5, you have to learn how to stop reading. Because if you keep on reading and reading and reading, because sometimes you're so engrossed with the findings of the studies, sometimes you end up confused. Or sometimes you might say, I just changed my problem because this is already existing and maybe this should be done, and that would make your advisor more confused as well. So if you want to optimize your time, you have to set a limit on in searching for the RRL. So you have to stop searching for your RRL because you still have a lot of things to do, like put all those what you have read in paper.
Hello students! As requested, I will be providing you with 3 tips in preparing your review of literature. What I am going to give are based from experience, and that is my experience in writing review of literature in my undergraduate thesis, in my master's thesis, and the researches I am involved in. Now, these tips, I abbreviated my tips to one of the common Pinoy chocolate energy drink, and that would be, guess what? Milo. M-I-L-O, which stands for M-I, mind conditioning. L, learn from more. And O, organize or get overwhelmed. Now, let's go to tip 1, MI. Before preparing your RL or your review of literature, first condition your mind for that task. We know the RL is a major section of your proposal, so it must be important. However, most students, if not all, find this section boring and tedious. 1, because it requires a lot of searching of the materials or journal articles. 2, a lot more reading. And 3, more writing. My tip here is for you to enjoy yourself. A good review of literature broadens your understanding about your research topic, and at the same time, it helps you grasp a clearer picture on your research objectives. You will be more focused on what you will do in your end after reading about what others have done. In my case, I tell myself, I need this. If I do not do this right today, I will face more problems later. That's tip 1. Let's go to number 2. Tip 2, L, or learn from more. Now, we know the RL is basically learning about what others have done, how they did it, and what they have found out. However, we know also that this is easier said than done. Why? Because not all of us are bookworms and are not wired to read journal articles which use the scientific language, and some are highly technical. In my case, I have to read the article 3 to 5 times before I am able to understand what it is all about. Now, I have to print the selected article, highlight important statements, and cross-reading some terms or theories used in the article. Now, you see, preparing the RL is more than just copy-pasting, and be careful on that. What you write should make sense. And that can only be done when you have understood what you've read. Again, if all these things get boring and tedious, go back to tip number 1, mind conditioning. Let's go to number 3. Number 3 is O, organize, or be overwhelmed. Now, common problems in preparing the RL are on properly attributing sources and locating the information from the many files that you have. Organization applies from listing of keywords before searching in the internet or in the library, searching for the articles, classifying downloaded files or printed materials, listing or copying the URL, moving files to the right folders in your computer or in your phones, renaming the files, and then highlighting specific sections in the article or those statements that you want to use later, and file backups. Now, not all articles that you find in the internet are acceptable or related to your study. Some are closely related, but others are not so related. So in my case, I changed file names 3 times. First set of file names contains words from the title of the article, so that when I go back to it later, I know what's in that article. Then second, after reading the article, I change it into author year format. And then the last step orders the articles from the most important to the least important. I know that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 articles are those that I will be using more in my RL. Now, you can have your own manner of organizing your files, but as long as you can easily look into your files, recall the content, and go back to specific sections where you have cited the idea, the concept, or the statement. It doesn't matter. Now, that's it. That's for the 3 tips, simple tips that I will give you today. And in preparing your RL, remember Milo. Mind conditioning, learn from more, and get organized or be overwhelmed.
Hi everyone! If you notice, I was not the one who welcomed you to this vlog, but it was one of my friends. It's Women Power for this particular edition. So my very sincere thanks to JV, to Ellie, to Thea, and to Dr. Jane Bruno. They're all my friends, so I can call them by their first names, who were very generous enough to share their time and their experience and their words of wisdom about how to prepare for the review of literature. Because the review of literature is one very important chapter in your thesis proposal and in your future thesis manuscript. So, looking forward to more conversations with you, especially to my students and to anyone who's interested to learn and listen and watch this vlog for the next coming sessions on how to really prepare for research. So, have a good day everyone. Bye.